Welcome to the Daily Shift. You heard that right. The Daily Shift. The show where we block out the noise and speak truth, train your mind, and help you become the absolute best version of yourself. Leo and Andrew are on their way. You're in the right place. And while you're here, take a breath. We're about to dive in. The show starts in 30 seconds. You ready? Take a deep breath in and breathe it out. Prepare for your shift.
What is up, beautiful people? We are in Vegas today and not in the studio, but we have a very important topic for you guys today, which is essentially breaking through the lie that we've been told that the more that you hustle, the more you heal. The more we subscribe to hustle culture, the better we're going to feel about ourselves and our lives that we're directing.
Yeah, so we're in a makeshift studio.
Yes,
We're going to show up for you guys and really just deliver a message. And it's something that when I started in business, I didn't realize the sequence. Sequence is such a powerful thing. And the sequence of what we implement in our business or our life will be the make or break sometimes. And yes, there's a time to get the work done. There's a time to knock the things out that we have to do and to not let things just sit, because so many people on one side get caught up in, sitting there and not taking action. And then on the other side, there's people who hustling is their medication and they never take time to heal and to become the man or the woman that they were meant to be. So we're going to dive into how you can improve your life, your business, and your flow and the joy in your life. Because business is a lot more fun when you can be doing the things that you know are aligned with your end objective.
Drew, I think I'm gonna just interview you today.
Cool.
On a short little thing. I think this will help the people who are watching understand your story of healing, not through more hustle, but through alignment and
get the coffee and get ready then.
And truly building something that is meaningful to you. So, explain your past couple of years, of course, in a short context of the life that you were living 4 years ago, building your real estate company, having done 500 houses, stressed out, overwhelmed, to then, of course, now being in a position where you are very aligned every single day, you're very clear, you have a very good direction, and you're growing every single day. How did that happen? Walk us through some big primary points that gave you the ability to do that.
Something that I didn't do, that if I was talking to 2018 Andrew, I would say become very sensitive to what needs to change in your life.
Okay.
One of our mastermind students just texted me this morning, and he was feeling overwhelmed. He's got a lot of cool projects going, exciting things. It's what he prayed for last year when he came into the community and started building. Except now he's going, wait a second, I've got to level up, right?
Yep.
I've got all these projects, these deals, these checks coming in, and all of these moving pieces. But I need to become the man who can better systemize and plug in what we have given him in terms of tools. So I share that because for me, I was very reactive for years.
Okay.
So I would consistently repeat the same problem over and over. Well, just need a bigger deal. I just got to go get a bigger check. I just got to do more deals. But the foundations wasn't there. So if I'm not enjoying my life doing, one deal per month, doing 3 deals a month is not going to make me enjoy my life more. So I continued to hate my life more the more my deals and revenue multiplied. And it wasn't until...
What did you value during those times, though?
I definitely had a drive, a tenacity to do it. So I think there's 2 things that was driving me. One, I wanted to help others, but I wasn't putting the effort into something that was accomplishing that. That was my desire. And 2, I think, was fear of ever letting the people around me down. So it was a drive for good, but a fear for loss.
Okay.
And it wasn't until we met, until our brotherhood was born, and I actually, for the first time, you started digging in deep to who Andrew Schlag is and Andrew Schlag struggles. Because I'd ignored those. Just close another deal. That was my therapy. Just close another deal. Get another deal. Get another check. Get another. And I was doing it for the right reasons. I really believe that. I think the intent was pure, but the actions were not taking me to the ultimate mission. So there was a misalignment going on from the actions being taken and the result I was desiring to get. And so every day was just stacking more crap on an unhealed mind and a broken system in terms of business.
So unhealed mind. Tell me about that. What does that mean?
Well, you didn't tell me we was going deep today. So
Go ahead.
I think when we go through things in life, regardless of whether it's insecurities, regardless of whether it's things somebody called you growing up, names someone called you, perspectives you have of yourself, it's so easy to just be like, just get over it, right? I just got to get the crap done, like on to the next. And so we often, and I was so resistant because I think there has been a weak culture created. And in that weakness, I see people who, sit around for 3 years feeling sorry for themselves, not getting work done, saying they have, anxiety and not throwing off on that. But I didn't want to be that person. So I was like, by golly, I don't have anxiety. I just need to work harder. And so I would not claim that for myself, but I didn't understand how to actually deal with it. Say, hey, I am mentally struggling with this thing. I do have this insecurity. Now, what's the actions I can take to become confident? What's the actions I can take, small steps every day to read, to draw closer to God, to be surrounded? That was huge, being surrounded by people who actually lift you up. Because when you're around people who subconsciously are constantly slighting you, making the sly remarks about things just to put you down, even if it's jokingly, right? Sure. Then you internalize those things and you continually surround yourself by those things, you live in this cycle. And you question everything. And that taught me to say, wait a second, I don't have to accept crap in my life, right? I don't have to surround myself by people who have ill will and ill intent. Like, it's literally, you have the gift. You're watching this today. We have the gift to say, oh, that's my brother. He's got my back. That's the one I want to be close to. that person keeps making sly remarks. Either they're going to have to change making sly remarks, or we're not going to see each other very often. And when you can start taking that control over your life and taking the actions, controlling your day, controlling your environment, and taking the actions to put yourself in position to actually succeed, you get to a whole new level.
So people who have someone negative in their life that they know they need to get rid of, but they're like, hey, it's family.
Yeah.
Or I've been close to this person for a long time. Or they've never learned the skill of cutting someone off or starting to cut off the bloodline, the bloodstream, which means you don't have to cut them off right away, but instead of 5 days a week, 3 days a week, then 2. What if someone never knows how to do that yet? What would you tell them?
Well, it's uncomfortable, first off. And especially when your identity is attached to that person or those group of people. Because you want that validation. You know, it's the only thing you've ever known. What helped me understand this actually was studying Stockholm Syndrome. Are you familiar with the concept?
Yes, kind of.
How would you explain that?
It's like when the person who holds you captive, or like let's just say you're in an abusive relationship and you're in that abusive relationship for so long that you kind of accept it or like you've
almost don't want to survive without it.
Right, you get used to the way that you're treated.
You justify it in your mind. And I studied that substantially, and I realized, you know, I've never been in an abusive relationship, and so very different in that regard. But I realized, like, why am I allowing a person, for example, to come to my home, if they happen to have my same last name, God bless them, lucky them, right? But why am I allowing them to come to my home and make me feel like crap? Or why would I go to church every Sunday with a group of people? Now, for somebody who calls me out on, you call me out on crap. I appreciate that. That's different. That's from a heart of brotherhood and like, bro, I want to see you grow. So don't cut people out of your life because they disagree with you or because they push you. But you can tell the difference between somebody who is making a comment out of love, who want to see you grow. Hey, bro, why'd you do that? Like, is that helping you? Versus someone who is constantly making sly remarks to put you down a notch.
Okay.
And you know those people in your life. And so for me, when I started studying Stockholm Syndrome and I started asking myself, why, like, I get that I've been around these people for decades or years, but why am I allowing this to happen? And I had no good answer. And so I just started distancing. You know, I learned something. I used to believe that just because someone happened to have my phone number and happened to dial me, I owed them a phone call back. You don't owe anybody a phone call back. Or a text back for that matter. It doesn't mean you should ignore people. I'm just telling you, you need to give yourself permission to say, why am I entertaining this conversation? And it can be that distance. It can be instead of those daily calls. It's once a week checking in because it's somebody you care about. You just need that space.
So now explain some of the lies that you were told prior to building confidence, prior to building an alignment. What were some of the lies that you were told?
Go a little deeper on that.
Lies in terms of the direction that you need to go in your life or how you need to, success lies, right? What people told you that you had to do in order to be successful, in order to feel good, or maybe some successful people that you had met were doing some certain things and you thought you had to do those things.
So I have, something's interesting when you start to look at your mentors. And this is something I started taking inventory of. Who's my mentors? And this comes back to awareness. Is this person in this, because there's somebody who you may listen to financially, who is incredible, smart, and worth a lot of money, but you would never want their family life. You see the way that they are with their husband or wife or their kids, and you're like, I get it works for them, but that's not the life I envision. Or you see somebody who's incredible with family and you're like, I love their family life, but they have a whole lot less money than I want. Or you see someone who is incredible in their fitness, but their finances aren't too good. And so be aware, when you're talking to your personal trainer and they're making financial statements to you, are they where you want to be financially? If not, you can kind of block those statements out and only listen to that person in fitness. And so start to be aware of where you're taking information from. And for the first time, because I used to just, who we are around influences so much, I used to just find people who may, right now I need to work on finances. So I'm going to go find somebody who's good in finances. I'm going to duplicate exactly what they do. And before long, I found myself eating like they ate, traveling like they travel, and adapting their beliefs at life, except some other aspects, I want my life to be different than theirs. And so it comes to that awareness of saying, hey, just because they're successful doesn't mean I need to adapt their mentality of how much or how little I work. Or just because they're successful doesn't mean that I need to adapt their philosophies and other aspects of life. So I started to segment that and not believe just because this person done 7 or 8 figures a year that I needed to listen to them and how they do work-life balance. Because some of them might rather work than be with family. Well, I want to have opportunity to do both. I want to work with family, right? Work while I'm with family, have the opportunity. And so, just like we're here in Vegas, hanging out on the show, also getting to hang out as brothers and be a good time, and also getting to connect and be on a mini vacation. So all the things can be together. And by the way, we're going to get a lot of work done and do a lot of business while we're here. So if I can balance my life in that way, how do I take parts from all the people who have successes in the aspects I want and start to embody that?
So for the people listening now and that are listening later that know your story, what now do you believe about success? What now do you believe about alignment and creating that you didn't know before?
First off, who you're around is a make or break. So that's where I would start. Take inventory of who you're around. Who's your 5 people that influence your decisions? When you go to make a decision, who are you worried about letting down? That's a big one. Secondly, is this action I'm taking and what I'm building. You said something the other day. You said, stop building something you don't want. And that was something I never stopped to think about. Is what I'm doing today, yes, it gets me the next deal, or yes, it gets me the next client, or yes, but is what I'm doing today in 3 years and 5 years, will I be glad that that's the action I'm taking? Money is abundant. You can do it through businesses, through real estate, through clients, through growth, through empowering others, through providing value in ways. You can build services, so many ways. So is the businesses and the ways of revenue that I'm choosing also taking me in alignment closer to my mission? And so for me, it's about who I'm around. Also, what I'm doing is what I'm doing and enjoyable to me, but who I'm around is way more important to me than what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So am I around who I want to be around? Am I doing what I want to be doing? And is it building me to the life that I desire to have?
So then going back to the original topic of healing, right? The lie that we've been told that we have to hustle more to be able to heal, right? Really to be successful, to gain the peace. But what we're finding a lot more, and of course in our business and our community and people around us, is that healing starts with yourself. Healing starts with good people around you. But also having the healing allows us to become more successful, allows us to take action more, be more disciplined. Why do you think that is?
Well, the first thing I think is we give ourselves permission, awareness and permission. Awareness of what you're taking in, listening to, watching, how you're feeling, what are you accepting and not, and being aware and really shifting that awareness to be intentional. Become intentional about what you do. I think that changes everything. And if we can start with the foundation, if you build a beautiful $20 million mansion, but you built it on sticks that you put in the ground, it's probably going to fall. But if you built a less extravagant mansion, but it's on a solid foundation with a 3-foot footing, poured into the ground and concrete, it's probably going to be around a while. And so many people get so focused on putting the big, beautiful mansion up because they don't want to take the time to pour the foundation.
What is the foundation?
Foundation is healing. I believe it comes down to the big 3. It comes down to your relationship with God, which I believe directly impacts your relationship with yourself. If those 2 ain't right, everything else is going to be off, as we used to say growing up, or it's going to be cattywampus. It's going to be crooked. It's going to be off track. So if we have a relationship with God and a relationship with ourselves right, then we can have a relationship with money right, which is the fuel that helps us drive the car. Now, I want to ask you a question because I attribute so much of my growth the last 5 years is because of our brotherhood and friendship and the man you are. How would you say, if you was describing, that you helped me make that transition and help myself, not only myself though, I've watched you help yourself and help so many others in our sphere heal. What does that look like to you?
I think creating the space for the right questions so that you can hear your own voice, right? Because we're called crazy if we talk to ourselves. But that's the only way you and I build a strong friendship and a brotherhood is
Yeah.
if we talk to each other. So same thing with yourself. It's like you have to talk to yourself.
Yeah.
Like you have to speak to yourself. And me now, you now, we speak to ourselves every day, all throughout the day, and talk to God, and we have these type of conversations. But when you're hurt, when you have lied to yourself many times, and you're in a pretty bad spot mentally, you don't want to talk to yourself.
Right.
You're actually incredibly mean to yourself, and you say all these bad things. However, if I ask you a question, let's just say you're in that terrible place, you were many years ago, and I ask you a question like, what happened during those times, right? What happened to you as a kid? How did you feel during those times? Now you get to speak to me about it and talk out loud. And if I guide those questions, like, hey, what really happened though? Like,
Yeah.
how did you really feel? Then you get to hear your own voice. And when you do that, you start to heal yourself because you stop blaming yourself for those things. Because most of the time we say it's our fault, when majority of the time it wasn't our fault, right? And that we were just a young kid who did not know our surroundings, but other things happened to us. And we start to take those beliefs, take those ideas, and internalize them for ourselves, which creates an unhealed heart.
Yeah.
And an unhealed heart does not know their identity.
You said something that really changed my perspective one day, and I'll share this because I think this will be very powerful for somebody listening. Because you look at yourself, a personality trait, your body, your mind, a failure you had in business, something you feel like you failed with in your family. Every one of us have places in our life where, for lack of a better term, it's an insecurity.
Right.
And I remember growing up having so many insecurities that I never dealt with. And what you just described there, first off, I'll say for everyone on here listening, tell you, thank you. Thank you for doing that and for being that brother. Secondly, what a gift that is that you gave to me and that you listening to this could give to someone close to you to be that space.
Yeah.
And you said something to me that changed. It was so small one day. And I remember this because, I had all these insecurities growing up, how I looked, and, all these little different things. And one thing that always bothered me as a child was I hated my freckles.
Yeah.
And I remember telling you that one day. We become close friends, and I said that to you one day, like, that's always been an insecurity. And I'd never said that out loud before. And it's like, kind of felt weird to say it. But I realized internally I'd held on to that. And when I was in my teens, I was on a roof, and I've always sunburnt fairly easy. And I was on a roof for 3 days straight, and I didn't have sunscreen or anything, and my arms sunburnt very bad. So I always had some freckles, but my arms, ever since that sunburnt horrible, and that peeled off for like a week and a half, like it was burnt bad. The freckles was always stronger on my arms, and I always hated it. So I always wanted to cover my arms. It was an insecurity. And I said to you one day, I've always been insecure about my freckles. And you look down at my arms and you go, some people probably wish they had freckles like yours. And it was the smallest thing, but I was like, some of you guys are thinking of an insecurity and it's someone else's dream. You're thinking, gosh, how do I deal with all the stress of this bull crap going on in my life? And somebody else is going, I wish I had 10 clients in the works, 10 deals in the works to deal with the stress you're dealing with. I just got fired from my job, and somebody else is going, gosh, I wish I had a job to get fired from. And there's always that opportunity of being able to be grateful in that time. And I, again, thank you for that. And I pray that helps somebody listening to this on this beautiful Friday go, wait a second, like I don't need to be insecure about anything. I can be grateful that I am where I am and that I've been gifted this opportunity in life.
Yeah. I remember walking in a library one day. It was not a library. It was literally a suit shop.
Same thing, suit shop, library,
walked-
Barnes and Noble, something.
I walked in there, and we'll wrap up here. But I remember walking in there and talking to this guy, just such a random conversation about God.
Yeah.
Like I walked in there, we just started talking. He's like, "Oh, what do you know about God?" And we just started talking, and we were talking about insecurities. We were talking about like facial structures, body, everything. And he says, too many people want to change what God made for them. Right? God made you who you were and made you beautiful and in his own way. And too many people want to change that. And I started to think about that a lot.
Yeah.
And I found this other context, someone always, I think Gary Vee always says, we won the absolute biggest lottery in the world, being the first sperm cell out of the other 400 trillion sperm cells to be alive. And I think those two contexts have shown me so much that we are worthy just as we are. Like there's 8 billion other people, but the fact that we're here, we're alive, we're on this earth, we have the ability to build something. We have the ability to just have a brain and have a body and have a soul. Like we're so lucky and so worthy as human beings. And when we start to realize that, we can start to heal ourselves to fully understand that. And when we heal ourselves, then we can start to just pull greatness out of other people, right? Like when you said, for example, I remember the freckles thing, and it's like, you're the only one who's insecure about it.
Yeah.
Right? So I might as well show you that so that you can like stop letting that hold you back. But so many other people have multiple insecurities that no one thinks about.
Yeah.
Right? You're the only one who thinks about how your eyebrows look a certain way or this. I remember I got the same eyebrows as my grandfather, right? And we kind of have triangle eyebrows. And one day, a girl in 4th grade is like, "You got Dorito eyebrows." And I was like, "Damn it." So for 3 years, for not even 3, for like 5 years, I would cover my face. I didn't want anyone to see it. And then I remember telling my mom one day, I told my mom, I told my sister, I told somebody, and they did the same thing. They were like, "I like them.
Yeah.
They look great." So I just accepted that. I was like,
That's my compliment from now on. Nice brows, bro. Looking good.
so I just said, like, you know what? I like them too. If you like them, I like them.
Yeah.
Right? And I started to realize the ability to overcome an insecurity like that. And then you start to show love to it. You start to show love to yourself, to your face, to your abilities, and realize that God gave you those for a reason. God gave you your talents, your abilities for a reason. And then you start to heal yourself and heal everyone else around you.
What a gift, man. And you're so gifted at doing that. I appreciate that not only for myself, but for hundreds of other people in our world that I see you at our events in different places as you do visualizations and walkthroughs. And I just watch people's lives transform having that space. And my prayer is that as much as virtual can be, that this is a place for you guys to be able to do that. So thank you for being here with us.
Absolutely. I hope this virtual setup didn't throw you off too much, but it's a beautiful day. And we're going to be back in the studio Monday, same time, same place. And challenge for you is that you go out there and somebody in your life, ask them a beautiful question that allows them to say the good things about themselves. Like what's your favorite part about yourself? Or what's your passion? Or what is a gift that God gave you? And if they don't know, just keep pulling them out of them, because eventually they'll say it, and then 2 weeks later say, thank you so much. I've been thinking about that question you asked me 2 weeks ago. They will, every single time they'll do it, because somebody needs to just ask them that question for them to realize how incredible they are and how incredible you are.
That's powerful.
Thank you for your story.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you guys for being here, and we'll see you back
Monday.
Monday.
Have a good weekend.
Peace. Bye.